called Abandonship, Mama Green. Yes, ma'am. Heartbreak will humble you. Heartbreak will also bring bitterness, and bitterness will fester. But bitterness can be bested by forgiveness. But what is a relationship without forgiveness? It's a lifetime of drowning because you'll always choose to abandon ship. When your companionship is on the fritz, you call it quits. Your fellowship was not legit relationships. To benefit, they tell you love like Christ, but your love is quite the opposite. Your love is quite the opposite. How could this be? Perhaps your love was never love from the jump. Your youthful love awakened way too soon. It's lust. Dressed up in his favorite Halloween costume is lust. Disguised as love. It's like the slimiest, grimiest, tiniest voice inside your head that grows and grows. When you give it power, you break more and more boundaries. Soon enough, it'll devour you in the name of love. Is lust. Disgust in the sight of God. A cheap imitation compared to eternal dedication is temporary satisfaction, an insatiable desire that never satisfies. Love is patient. Lust is patiently reshaping your perception of love with pornography and masturbation. Love is kind. Lust is kind of similar in appearance, but will never cast out fear. Love conquers all. Lust complicates every romantic relationship, and you can quote me on that as facts. A life fulfilled is filled with love. A life of lust is destined for death. But I digress. Now, say it with me, okay? But say it with your Kevin Hart, which means say it with your chest. I'm no longer a slave to sin. I'm no longer a slave to sin. Help me out, Tyler. I'm no longer a slave to sin. Yeah. I'm no longer a slave to sin. Yeah. I'm no longer a slave to sin. We're going to keep saying this so y'all say it. Longer a slave to sin. Come on, y'all. I'm no longer a slave to sin. Yes. I'm no longer a slave to sin. But what if I'm a slave to the relationships I'm in? Well, you better get a Kunta Kinte in your spirit and get to the root of your issues. I said you better get a Kunta Kinte in your spirit and get to the root of your issues, because you choose to see bondage where there is freedom. You choose to see frustration, condemnation, and guilt where there is long-suffering, strength, and foundation being built. You choose to inhabit jail cell bars when God gave you green pastures. Be free from the things that bound you. Be free from those that surround you. It only sounds hard to those of us that are hard-headed. I'm one of them. But every test is a lesson. Every lesson is a blessing if you choose to see the message, but we don't choose to see the blessing. So we've misinterpreted the message, understandably so. We were meant to be cursed after all, meant to have nothing. But Jesus became everything to lose everything, that we may have everything, lacking nothing, something that he planned. The plan was that we no longer be slaves to sin, folks. Now sin is no longer my kinfolk. And even your folks will try to pull you back in, folk, but some folks you have to keep at bay. A message to my brothers. Some brothers you got to keep at arm's length. Even Cain killed Abel. And even Mufasa killed Simba. Am I lying, kings? A message to my sisters. It's not a mystery that most misters only want one thing. I'm not lying, queens. Stop letting these men recycle you. And when you break that cycle, while I can't promise you your Prince Charming will arrive on a chariot, I can say he'll be a lot easier to recognize. Now, a wise man once said, trust is lost in buckets and gained in drops. That's one of the truest quotes I've ever heard, but I'd like to add to it, if that's okay. Healing from broken hearts and tarnished relationships is received in buckets. When there is a heart that desires to forgive, be even-tempered, content with second place, quick to forgive an offense. Forgive as quickly and as completely as the master forgave you, because heartbreak will humble you. Heartbreak will also bring bitterness, and bitterness will fester. But bitterness can be bested with forgiveness. But what's a relationship without forgiveness? What's your relationship with God without forgiveness? It's not one. Amen.